Spoštovani vlagatelji, upravljalci, borzni posredniki in vsi ostali, ki nas spremljate preko računalniških zaslonov. Dobrodošli na današnjem spletnem dogodku v začetku kotacije ETF-ov družbe Expat na Ljubljanski borzi. Moje ime je Karmen Pogorevc in v imenu Ljubljanske borze bom danes vodila ta online dogodek. Ker pa je z nami tudi precej tujih investitorjev, bo dogodek potekal deloma v slovenskem in deloma v angleškem jeziku. Good morning, investors, investment managers, and analysts. We are glad to welcome you to our online event in the honor of the listing of Expat Capital's ETFs on Ljubljana Stock Exchange. My name is Karmen Pogorevc, and on behalf of Ljubljana Stock Exchange, I will be hosting today's event. A very warm welcome also to our guests who will participate in this event, and I will present them a little bit later. But now let's have a quick look at the program of today's event. First, we will hear a few words from the President of the Management Board of Ljubljana Stock Exchange. Then, Mr. Todurov from VZAJEMCI SKUPINA will share with us a short presentation of exchange-traded funds in general. Afterwards, we'll hear from Mr. Vasilev from Expat Capital, who will present their company and their ETFs. And at the end, all the guests will join me in the roundtable conversation. The event should last around 1 hour. Investors are welcome to submit their questions anytime during the presentation. You can do so through the platform. The event will be recorded. Torej, na zaslonu je potek današnjega sestanka, ker verjetno večina razume angleško, dnevnega reda ne bom ponavljala, naj pa vas tudi v slovenščini pozovem, da oddate svoje vprašanja preko platforme. Na vprašanja bodo gosti z veseljem odgovorili ob koncu okrogle mize. Pa kar začnimo, najprej besedo predajam predsedniku uprave Ljubljanske borze, gospodu Alešu Ipavcu. First, I give floor to Mr. Ipavec, President of the Management Board of Ljubljana Stock Exchange. Mr. Ipavec, please feel free to start.
Ja, lepo pozdravljeni tudi v mojem imenu in seveda hvala vsem, ki ste se nam pridružili na današnjem za slovenski kapitalski trg zelo pomembnem dogodku. Namreč kar nekaj let smo si prizadevali, da bi ponovno na Ljubljansko borzo pripeljali kotirajoče sklade in danes vam jih seveda s ponosom predstavljamo. Moram priznati, da sem zelo vesel in na nek način počaščen, da je družba Expat Capital po dveh tako zelo etabliranih trgih, kot sta Frankfurt in London, za naslednjo destinacijo izbrala prav Ljubljano. To je samo še ena dodatna potrditev, da je Ljubljanska borza v mednarodnem finančnem okolju prepoznana kot kredibilna institucija z urejenim pravnim redom, uveljavljenim trgovalnim sistemom Xetro in evrom kot valuto. ETF skladi so v svetu, kot verjetno veste, zelo popularni, zato verjamem, da bodo pomembno prispevali tudi k razvoju domačega kapitalskega trga. Predvsem imam tukaj v mislih male vlagatelje, katerim so tako imenovani borzni skladi primarno tudi namenjeni. And now a few words in English for our colleagues from Bulgaria and of course other foreign participants. On behalf of Ljubljana Stock Exchange, I'm delighted to welcome Expat Capital as our new issuer on Slovenian market. Unfortunately, we cannot welcome you in person and have the usual protocol for such important events, including ringing the bell and so on. But since you are now listing 5 out of 11 funds that you are managing, I'm optimistic that when remaining 6 would be listed, it will be a live event in Ljubljana. So once again, very warm welcome and thank you for choosing Ljubljana Stock Exchange as your 4th trading venue after such eminent markets as Frankfurt and London, and of course your domestic market. Thank you very much.
Hvala za te uvodne besede. Thank you, Mr. Ipavec, for your opening words. And now I welcome Mr. Myhajlo Todurov, a managing digital editor at VZAJEMCI and independent financial advisor at VZAJEMCI SKUPINA. Mr. Todurov has many years of experience in financial sector. He has prepared the general presentation of ETFs, which will be held in Slovene. Torej, lepo pozdravljam, med nami tudi gospoda Myhajla Todurova, glavnega urednika spletnega mesta VZAJEMCI in finančnega svetovalca z večletnimi izkušnjami v finančnem sektorju. Gospod Todurov nam bo predstavil, kaj ETF skladi sploh so. Gospod Todurov, dobrodošli med nami, izvolite.
Pozdravljeni in dobrodošli tudi v mojem imenu. Kot ste lahko slišali, sem Myhajlo Todurov, glavni urednik spletnega mesta vzajemci.com. In najprej bi se rad zahvalil seveda Ljubljanski borzi in tudi podjetju Expat za povabilo za sodelovanje. Nedvomno gre za velik dogodek, ki bo pomenil eno pomembno prelomnico za slovenske vlagatelje, tako da je tudi smiselno, da se tudi malce več izvemo o samih ETF skladih. Tako da gremo lahko tudi kar na predstavitev in slišimo. Za uvod bi najprej nekoliko povzel kratko zgodovino industrije skladov v Sloveniji. Lahko bi rekli, da se nahajamo sredi tretje revolucije. Za prvo revolucijo pa bi lahko označili ustanovitev prvega slovenskega sklada KD Galileo oziroma Generale Galileo pred skoraj 30 leti. Spremembo zakonodaje pred okoli 17 leti, ki je omogočila širšo naložbeno alokacijo sredstev, lahko štejemo za drugo revolucijo. Tretja revolucija pa se je začela po koncu zadnje finančne krize in traja še danes, torej z konsolidacijo trga, izločitvijo najmanj učinkovitih ponudnikov in vstopom na trg bolj učinkovitih strategij in rešitev. Vlagateljem v svetu so že sedaj na voljo skladi, pri katerih lahko investirajo praktično brez omembe vrednega stroška in ravno pri slednjem velja izpostaviti ETF sklade. V letu 2020 je bilo po podatkih spletnega mesta statista.com v svetu aktivnih že 7602 ETF sklada. Na trgih pa so prisotni šele od zgodnjih 90 let prejšnjega stoletja. Torej gre za enega, trenutno pač v tem času, gre za enega najpomembnejših naložbenih razredov, zato njihove vloge v portfeljih vsekakor ne gre zanemariti. Preden gremo v globino, je najprej smiselno razložiti, kaj so sploh ETF skladi. V prevodu ETF pomeni kotirajoči sklad. Praviloma gre za indeksne investicijske sklade, ki so nastali v ZDA in katerih premoženje je naloženo v košarico vrednostnih papirjev družb določenega indeksa. To je to v bistvu, če gremo na simple. ETF-i so sestavljeni podobno kot vzajemni skladi, torej izdajatelji kupijo delnice in obveznice v skladu z naložbeno strategijo, ki so si jo zastavili. Če, na primer, ETF zasleduje indeks SBI Top, potem izdajatelj sklada preko institucionalnega investitorja kupi delnice v takih deležih, da skoraj popolno zasleduje gibanje izbranega indeksa. Pomembna razlika v primerjavi z vzajemnim skladom je ta, da lahko ETF sklad kupite ali prodate kadarkoli tekom trgovalnega dne po znani vrednosti, enote vzajemnega sklada pa se vedno kupuje ali prodaja ob koncu trgovalnega dne z zamikom. Torej po neznani vrednosti in s tem tudi seveda se izpostavite določenemu tveganju, da bo vrednost vzajemnega sklada oziroma enote vzajemnega sklada ob prodaji ali nakupu višja oziroma nižja. Zraven si pa lahko tudi pogledate nekaj ključnih podatkov, ki so seveda pač pripravljeni za to oziroma za prikaz slike, kaj trenutno predstavljajo ti skladi v svetu. Če gremo tudi na kratko zgodovino, ETF skladov, oziroma če gremo na kratko opisati. Prvi, ki je bil ponujen širši množici oziroma ki je dobil dovoljenje za trženje, je SPDR S&P 500 ETF Trust. Dovoljenje je dobil leta 1993 in je bil izdan s tikerjem SPY. Danes je ta sklad največji in najbolj prodajani oziroma najbolj trgovani ETF sklad na svetu. Temu so sledili tudi drugi ponudniki, saj se je strategija sledenja indeksom izkazala za dobro tako za upravljavce kot tudi za vlagatelje zaradi same učinkovitosti, nizkih stroškov in boljše preglednosti. Seveda, tovrstno strategijo so poznali tudi že prej, vendar v obliki standardnih oziroma klasičnih vzajemnih skladov, kot kotirajoči sklad pa je prvi dovoljenje dobil ravno ta pred 28 leti. Sledili so v bistvu tudi d.o.o. Diamonds leta 1098, potem Nasdaq s svojimi Cubes leta 1999, torej na vrhuncu dotcom v bistvu oziroma tehnološkega balona. V letih, ki so sledila, pa je bilo na trgu najti vedno več in tudi vedno bolj inovativne rešitve. Leta 2002 je bil najprej predstavljen tudi obvezniški ETF, prvi zlati ETF pa smo dobili leta 2004. Kot zanimivost je na vrhuncu zadnje finančne krize, torej šele marca 2008, pa je bil predstavljen prvi aktivno upravljani kotirajoči sklad. Višina sredstev v upravljanju, torej skupna višina sredstev v upravljanju je od leta 1993 do leta 2011 dosegla 1000 milijard ameriških dolarjev, torej v 18 letih iz nič do 1000 milijard. V letih po finančni krizi pa je industrija doživela tako rekoč razcvet, saj so stroškovno učinkovite rešitve postale boljše oziroma je zavedanje vlagateljev postalo v tem primeru boljše. Nazadnje, če imate na izbiro dva enaka sklada z različno višino stroškov, je odločitev glede tega, katerega boste izbrali, zelo enostavna. Torej, če vam en sklad ponudi 0,5% upravljavske provizije, zaračuna drugi sklad zaračuna 2%, je logična izbira. Tako višina sredstev v upravljanju kot tudi število novoustanovljenih skladov pa sta ameriške industrije v zadnjih desetletjih beležile eksponentno rast, kar pa ni niti presenetljivo, saj so tovrstni skladi postali veliko bolj dostopni, za njih dejansko potrebujete otvoriti samo ali trgovalne platforme ali pa v bistvu v določenih primerih pokličete brokerja, so tudi stroškovno bolj učinkoviti in predstavljajo tudi dobro izbiro za vlagatelja, ki želi slediti posameznemu borznemu indeksu. Zraven v bistvu seveda tudi lahko pogledate med zanimivostmi, kako se je gibalo število ETF skladov po posameznih letih, torej ob določenih mejnikih. Zakaj pa so v bistvu torej ti skladi tudi tako stroškovno učinkoviti? Zaradi samega načina delovanja, pri katerem že institucionalni vlagatelji vnaprej kupijo večjo količino izdanih enot, vlagatelji pa te le preprodajajo. Tako ne nastanejo stroški z neprestanim kupovanjem in prodajanjem posameznih vrednostnih papirjev, le stroški občasne prilagoditve strukture, da se še naprej zasleduje posamezen borzni indeks. Sedaj pa bi bilo smiselno tudi izpostaviti še prednosti, ki jih ima posamezen vlagatelj pri ETF skladih. Torej, kot že prej omenjeno, nizki stroški, tukaj govorimo predvsem stroški samega obrata naložb in tudi upravljavski stroški, saj vstopne ali izstopne stroške imate v bistvu tudi tukaj v nedoločeni obliki, nazadnje v bistvu z nakupom vrednostnega papirja, s prodajo vrednostnega papirja in seveda tudi davki, ki so seveda prisotni v vsaki naložbi. Še določena prednost je tudi likvidnost, nazadnje v bistvu, če se trguje s temi na razvitem trgu z ETF-i, je likvidnost praktično vedno zagotovljena. Še ena dobra prednost je visoka stopnja razpršitve, saj lahko že z manjšimi vložki dobite delež oziroma ne delež, ampak tako rekoč svoje sredstva razpršite med vse vrednostne papirje, ki jih posamezen sklad zajema. Torej, če se recimo nekdo za 1000 evrov odloči vstop v določen ETF, ki ima v lasti recimo 100 različnih delnic oziroma razpršen med 100 različnih delnic, se tudi ta vložek tako rekoč razprši med te vrednostne papirje. Še ena prednost je uspešno sledenje posameznemu indeksu. Nazadnje v bistvu raziskave kažejo, da aktivne strategije v veliko primerih zaostanejo za posameznim indeksom, ETF-i pa seveda to delo opravljajo precej bolje. Seveda ni to popolno oziroma v določenih primerih lahko tudi to odstopa, vendar je sledenje dovolj dobro do te mere, da je priporočljivo. In seveda še določena prednost je enostaven postopek nakupa in prodaje znotraj trgovalnega dne. Saj lahko to storite v bistvu že določeni preko telefona, s parimi kliki in je zadeva urejena. Kaj pa slabosti? Ena od slabosti je tudi to, kar sem se že prej malenkost dotaknil. Posamezen ETF ne bo nikoli v celoti posnemal strukture indeksa. Lahko jo posnema v 99%, 95%, lahko tudi manj, vendar 100% posnemanja v bistvu razen v redkih primerih ne boste imeli. Vendar v bistvu razlike so ponavadi tako nizke, da tudi to ni v bistvu težava. Slabost je tudi, da nimate lastniške pravice, kot bi to imeli pri lastništvu delnic. Torej, kot že prej omenjeno, recimo razpršite 1000 evrov med določeno število delnic. V prvem primeru, če kupite dejansko delnice, imate tudi lastniško pravico, torej imate tudi neke vrste določene pravice, ki jih imajo lastniki. V primeru nakupa ETF sklada pa tega nimate, saj ste lastnik enot sklada, ki je potem dalje tudi lastnik teh delnic. Seveda tudi ena od slabosti je, da so možna visoka nihanja znotraj posameznega trgovalnega dne. Se določeni vlagatelji niso naklonjeni temu spremljanju oziroma niso naklonjeni nihanjem, ker v bistvu, če gledate iz enega dneva v drugega, je lahko sprememba recimo na trgu 1%, znotraj trgovalnega dne pa se lahko tudi v določenih primerih premikajo za več odstotkov, kar psihično ni najbolj za vlagatelje, ki si tega ne želijo. Seveda najbolj enostaven nasvet je tukaj, vsak dan se ne spremlja, vendar je to stvar posameznika. Še ena slabost pa v bistvu, da pri nakupu ETF sklada nimate davčnega ščita. Tukaj govorimo predvsem o slovenski posebnosti, ki jo imajo določeni vzajemni skladi oziroma vzajemni skladi za ustanovitvijo krovnega sklada, kjer se lahko znotraj posameznih podskladov premikate brez davka, tukaj pa oziroma brez nastanka davčnega dogodka. V primeru nakupa ali prodaje enot ETF sklada pa je tako kot pri delnicah, nastane davčni dogodek. Nahajamo se v obdobju, ko bo vedno več ljudi posegalo po naložbah, ki niso depoziti. In gre za čisto naraven proces, ki je posledica dogajanja na bančnem trgu in kaže na to, da smo ljudje dejansko racionalna bitja. Tako kot so tudi racionalne korekcije na borzi. Te namreč kažejo na to, da je trg zdrav in uravnava nastala nesorazmerja. Enako je tudi v širšem segmentu finančnega sveta. Situacija, ki smo ji priča danes, neravnovesje ureja tako, da bo poskrbela za drugačno razporeditev prihrankov. Če smo prej prisegali le na bančne vezave in o racionalnosti tega fenomena tokrat ne bomo razpravljali, bomo sedaj priča bolj racionalni razporeditvi sredstev z namenom prejemanja donosnosti, kot smo jih bili vajeni pred časom na seveda bančnih vezavah. Vsak začetek investiranja je seveda vreden pohvale, obenem pa mora biti ta previden in premišljen. Številni vlagatelji se bodo odločili za individualno kupovanje delnic, vendar tovrsten pristop zahteva več denarja, večjo angažiranost, več znanja in seveda tudi veliko časa in pozornosti. Če lahko poskrbite za vse te dejavnike, potem je seveda za vas ta pristop morda tudi najbolj primeren. Vendar velika večina vlagateljev bo sredstva investirala v klasične vzajemne sklade ter v ETF skladi. Kot smo že prej omenili, so sestavljeni podobno kot vzajemni skladi in ali sledijo kakšnemu indeksu, ali sektorju, ali v bistvu državi, kakorkoli, kar se odločite, to v bistvu z ETF skladom lahko posnemate. Ker pa je z ETF skladom možno trgovati tekom dne, jih je mogoče tudi prodajati na kratko in tako služiti tudi, ko pride do padca določenega indeksa, regije ali sektorja. Seveda je to pomenilo v bistvu tudi, da se s tem zviša tveganje in tudi v bistvu skladno s tem lahko tudi pri mnogih ETF-ih najdemo tudi določene opcije, ki investitorje omogočajo, da z majhnim vložkom kontrolirajo višje zneske. Torej tako rekoč gre za vzvode, posledično pa seveda se tveganje še zviša. Prodaja na kratko in izvedeni finančni inštrumenti pri vzajemnih skladih ne obstajajo. Opisane posebnosti jih naredijo pač ETF sklade posebno primerne za kratkoročne načine investiranja in špekuliranja, medtem ko dolgoročnih investitorjih to ne pride do izraza. Odgovor na vprašanje, kaj je boljša izbira, pa je vedno odvisen od posameznika. Številni vlagatelji bodo rekli, da so zaradi nizkih stroškov ETF skladi absolutni zmagovalci, ne zavedajo pa se, da se lahko stroški seštevajo s številom transakcij. Torej, če ste vi v bistvu aktivni vlagatelj in radi večkrat prilagajate samo strukturo, kupujete in prodajate vrednostne papirje, se lahko ti stroški akumulirajo do te stopnje, da ETF skladi ne bodo več tako ugodni. Vendar, če ste pa pasivni vlagatelj in ne nameravate spreminjati svojega portfelja, je za vas v bistvu ETF sklad še najbolj primerna izbira za samo jedro portfelja. Torej, v bistvu pri portfeljih, kot poznamo kakšno jedro, ki ga sestavlja ali nek globalni v bistvu sklad razpršitev ali v bistvu naložba, ki si jo vi predstavljate za isto ključno. Potem pa seveda temu jedru dodajemo satelite, ki so pa razni manjši, ozko usmerjeni skladi in s tem poskrbimo za razpršitev, ki si jo mi želimo. Če gremo tudi naprej, velja tudi izpostaviti sama tveganja, ki jih vlagatelji pri nakupu ETF sklada sprejmejo. Nenazadnje ne obstajajo samo prednosti ali slabosti ali pa v bistvu tudi to. Moramo paziti tudi vedno na vse dejavnike, ki lahko vplivajo na naš končni rezultat. Tveganja so pri ETF skladih zelo podobna tem, kot jih poznamo pri klasičnih vzajemnih skladih in tudi pri preostalih vrednostnih papirjih. Torej poznamo tržno, poslovno, valutno tveganje, lahko pride do kakšnih izrednih dogodkov in tudi kot posebnost pri samih ETF skladih je tudi razlika v ceni. Tržno tveganje je zelo enostavno v bistvu razložljivo. Tržna vrednost vrednostnih papirjev niha, nekaterih bolj, nekaterih manj. Zagotovil, da bomo dosegli pričakovani donos, največkrat ni, paziti pa je treba tudi na samo likvidnost. Saj ni tudi nikoli zagotovila, da bomo papir lahko prodali, vsaj ne po ceni, ki smo si jo mi zamislili. Večino težav v zvezi s tem, da zagotovljenega donosa največkrat ni, lahko odpravimo že s tem, da to razumemo in upoštevamo pred samim nakupom. Enostavno, torej, če kupite vrednostni papir, delnico ali ETF sklad, se morate zavedati, da cena tega niha in ni enaka ob prodaji, razen če seveda ob enaki ceni tudi prodate. Še eno tveganje, ki smo ga opisali, je poslovno tveganje. Tukaj v bistvu lahko govorimo predvsem o kakšnih spremenjenih pogojih poslovanja, prihodu novih konkurentov, napake v vodenju posameznega podjetja, spremembe splošnih gospodarskih razmer. Nenazadnje v bistvu tudi zadnja korona kriza, ki smo ji bili priča, je močno vplivala na dogajanje v gospodarstvu in s tem tudi na samo poslovanje družb, kar se je seveda tudi pozna na celotnem pač v bistvu naboru vrednostnih papirjev. Še eno pomembno tveganje pa je tudi valutno tveganje. Kupovanje vrednostnih papirjev nominiranih v tujih valutah prinese poleg vsega ostalega še tveganje spremembe tečaja valute. Večina ETF skladov se nahaja na ameriškem trgu oziroma je vezanih na ameriški trg in tudi v bistvu denominiranih v ameriških dolarjih. Zato je pri vlagateljih vedno treba gledati tudi na razmerje evro-dolar in če se to kako se to spreminja oziroma kakšni so obeti. Ker recimo, če ustvarite z vrednostnim papirjem oziroma ETF skladom 10%, na drugi strani vam pa razlika med evro-dolar požre ta donos, niste naredili čisto nič, razen tega, da ste se izpostavili tveganju za ničelni donos. Torej, tudi to tveganje vedno treba upoštevati pred nakupom. Potem pa seveda poznamo, kot sem rekel, tudi izredni dogodki. Sem bi lahko šteli tudi ravno tisto tveganje, ki sem ga opisal že prej, torej korona krizo, ker gre za dogodek, ki ga ne moremo pričakovati in močno vpliva na celotno strukturo, se to lahko zgodi. Na tem rečemo lahko tudi Black Swan dogodki, tako rekoč, oziroma jih imenujejo dogodki črnega laboda. Gre za dogodke, ki vplivajo na trg, imajo v bistvu so dokaj lahko predvidljivi, ko gledamo za nazaj, za naprej seveda pač ne, in pomembno vplivajo na svet. Ena v bistvu od posebnosti ETF skladov pa je tveganje razlike v ceni. Ker se z njimi trguje na borzi, lahko cena enote znotraj posameznega trgovalnega dne odstopa od vrednosti enote, kot bi jo sklad imel glede na naložbe, ki jih ima v portfelju. Razlike so minimalne in se skozi čas izravnajo, se je pa dobro zavedati, da lahko v trenutku nakupa ETF kupite ali z diskontom ali pa s premijo. Vloga v naložbenem portfelju ETF skladov, kot sem dejal že prej, je pasivne narave, torej v bistvu primerni so za jedro portfelja pasivnih vlagateljev, torej ko to kupite, držite tudi še leta. ETF skladi so vsekakor dober tip naložbe, ima veliko koristi, vendar nikakor pri nobeni naložbi ne gre zanemariti tveganja. Portfelje razpršite predvsem glede na ročnost, cilje in vašo naklonjenost tveganju, saj lahko ravno slednja pomembno vpliva na to, ali boste kot investitor uspeli ali ne. Hvala za pozornost. To je to.
Hvala, gospod Todurov, za tole prezentacijo. Sedaj pa si pobliže poglejmo, kdo sploh je podjetje Expat Capital, ki na Ljubljansko borzo z današnjim dnem uvršča 5 ETF-ov. Nadaljevanje dogodka bo potekalo v angleščini. And now it's my honor and privilege to welcome Mr. Nicola Vasilev, Managing Partner at Expat Capital and CEO of Expat Asset Management. Mr. Vasilev has extensive international experience in capital markets and has also published 3 books. He is also the Honorary Consul of Slovenia in Bulgaria. Mr. Vasilev, a very warm welcome. We are excited to hear about your company, Expat Capital, so please free to start at your convenience.
Thank you very much, Carmen, for the organization. Let me just see whether you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
So I can continue like this. First of all, let me thank the organizers for organizing this great event. At the moment, I can see 114 participants, which is above our expectations. I agree with Mr. Ipavec that a live event would be much better, but at the same time, at a live event, we might never get 114 participants. Today is a good day for, of course, for our company, but it's also a great day for the capital markets of Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, and North Macedonia. Before I start with the contents, I would like to thank again a number of people. First of all, the whole team at the Ljubljana Stock Exchange. Mr. Ipavec, of course, also Branko Železnik, who is not working there anymore, but he spent a lot of time and efforts persuading us to go to Ljubljana first. Also today, Tamara and Carmen have done a great job with the organization. Also, we work very well with the whole team of KDD. That's the Slovenian Securities Depository. We cannot enumerate all the people, but they're very good partners of ours for the future. And also, we would like to thank the Slovenian regulator for being very efficient in the approval process of our products. Also, I would like to say hello to many of our friends from the CFA associations of your countries. Now, if we can start with the presentation itself. First of all, a few words about our company. We are based in downtown Sofia, and the company is 15 years old now. We have clients from 35 countries on 4 continents. Most of them, of course, are from Europe, but also North America, Asia, and even Australia. Ourselves, we invest around the world in the last several years in 55 different markets, but we have access to basically all global markets. We are one of the most innovative investment companies in the region. We have 18 funds of our own, of which 14 are quite unique in the whole big area between Frankfurt to the west and Hong Kong to the east, as follows. We are the only company in this big part of the world which has created so far 11 UCITS exchange-traded funds, which are, as of today, listed on 4 different exchanges. Also, we have the only short equity fund. We have a global art fund, which is investable. Also, we created 1 gold fund listed. We have 3 mutual funds, 1 real estate investment trusts. But our biggest business is not only the fund management business, but our bigger business are the individual investment accounts. We are a wealth management company with over 1,000 higher net worth individual clients from 35 countries. We are a company which is very well connected globally. As I mentioned, we're listed on 4 stock exchanges, and we will have more listings in the future. We use 5 international custodian banks based in different countries. We have contracts with over 55 brokers, banks, and also just enumerating only the types of partnerships we have in the world is a long list. We're well known at about 20 stock exchanges from London to Singapore and Nasdaq as well. And in the future, we'll be listing some of our instruments at other places. We are well connected with 6 international securities custodians, such as KDD, around Europe. Also, our team, you can look them up on our website. Our team is very strong, probably one of the best in the region. We have 20 professionals with a strong international background. Many of our key employees have studied and worked in the US, the United Kingdom, Japan, France, Hungary, Russia, and Bulgaria, of course. We also have CFA charter holders and the 2 managing partners, together with my partner, Nikolay. We have extensive experience also in governments. 5 years ago, we identified the ETF business as a big opportunity for us. When I visited New York and spoke to 3 relatively big global ETF operators, they showed me big maps of the world on their wall, and they covered the whole world: North America, South America, Western Europe, Asia, even Africa, and all of them had almost nothing or absolutely nothing in Central and Eastern Europe, even nothing in Russia and Turkey, which was a big surprise for me. So I asked them, why don't you have anything in Central and Eastern Europe? And their answer, I will quote, was, we will never make such granular, which means microscopic investments. Well, for them, if Greece and Poland are microscopic, for us, this is a great niche. So we decided that we want to be one of the biggest operators in Central and Eastern Europe. We decided to cover 11 countries first. You see them in red. 9 of them are members of the European Union. The others are future members of the European Union, we hope. And also there are 5 more countries on our radar. These are the countries with the next potential ETFs for us in the future. These are the Baltic states, Montenegro, and Ukraine. This is the brief history of our fund business. Expat Capital is 15 years old. We created our first funds in 2008 and the ETFs in 2016 and 17. We listed them in Frankfurt in 18, in London in the same year, and this year we're starting the Slovenian listing. This is the list of our funds. You can see the 11 countries. 5 of them we chose to list in Slovenia, in Ljubljana. Why exactly these? Well, you can see which they are. Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, and Macedonia. These countries you know well. And Bulgaria, of course, it's a country not very far away from you. If there is interest in the future, we might consider listing other of these ETFs in Ljubljana. But if not, then all of you or most of you have good access to Frankfurt. You can trade them there on a daily basis. These are some numbers about the funds. We are very happy that recently the Slovenian fund, which initially was one of the smaller ones, is now our largest ETF by market cap. Other larger ETFs are Bulgaria, Romania, and the Czech Republic. We hope the ones which are now listed in Ljubljana will grow faster. A few words about Ljubljana. After Frankfurt and London, as I mentioned, we are being invited to many other exchanges, even to Singapore. But we decided to start from Ljubljana as our next destination because we found a very professional and friendly team at the stock exchange. We have a very good relationship with KDD, and also we have good partners, brokers. These are Intercapital, FIMA, Ilirica. Intercapital are our new market makers in Ljubljana. Thank you very much for that partnership. Also, we have good institutional investors from Slovenia and Croatia. And also the Slovenian ETF has become our biggest, as I mentioned. Also, Slovenia is one of the few countries in the region which is also a member of the Eurozone. There are very strong ties between the Zagreb Stock Exchange and Ljubljana, also with Belgrade and Skopje. And also we have very good ties with the Slovenian business, not only financial community, and with members of several governments, including several prime ministers. A few words about our ETFs. Our ETFs are UCITS compliant. UCITS is an important directive of the European Union. Our ETFs are passive. We don't do stock picking, no market timing. We just passively track the main equity indices of the stock exchanges as they are. Our ETFs are open-ended. They provide daily liquidity. You can buy and sell in the primary and secondary market on a daily basis. We use direct physical replication, which means we really buy the stocks. We don't use any derivatives, swaps, and so on, because they might be risky in certain extreme situations. Our ETFs, most of our ETFs are unique. Now, there are a few more countries in the region with some ETFs, but for some countries, including the Czech Republic, which is a big market, there are no other ETFs in the world. So if you look at our family, you can just pick which countries you might be interested in. There are many, you of course have a lot of international experience, and many of you have invested globally, even in the countries of Eastern Europe. Let's take the Czech Republic as a relatively big market. You can try yourselves to create a portfolio of Czech stocks. If you're based in Ljubljana or Zagreb, you have to analyze the stocks, to do some stock picking, to have local partners, local depositories, also to exchange currencies. But these are big transaction costs and big question marks. Or you can just look at your screen, you can buy our Czech ETF within seconds and you're done. There are our advantages. We cover countries, not companies. So if you like a certain country, you can just invest in that ETF. Also, the ETFs are by definition diversified. In the 11 ETFs, we have almost 200, or even considering the large Greek number, over 200 stocks. And they are very liquid, much more liquid than any individual position. Now, the ETFs are different from any other way of investing in two ways. You can use the primary market or the secondary market. I'm sure many of you have invested in global ETFs, let's say on the S&P 500. You've never heard of the primary market before. If you don't know what the primary market is, no trouble. It's very easy to learn. It's similar to investing in mutual funds. It's very interesting to monitor the participants, the investors' behavior. Most of the Bulgarian institutional investors prefer to invest in the primary market, so they just call us. Most of the international institutional investors go to the secondary market on Frankfurt just because they understand it better and it's very convenient for them. So you just choose your stock, choose the stock exchange, choose the ETF, I mean, and you can invest any amount on a single day. If you want to invest 1 million, 10 million, 50 million euro today in any of these ETFs, you can do it. If you choose the secondary market, just either put your bid and ask quote order on the screen of the stock exchange, or call the market maker or call us to request a certain quantity, and somebody will provide it for you. Investing in the primary market, if you are a small retail investor and want to buy 2 shares, forget about the primary market. If you're an institutional investor, or if you're a broker which has a contract with us, you can always call us and buy or sell an infinite amount of shares on a daily basis. This is the most difficult slide for me to explain traditionally. Most people, most investors can look at the size of our ETFs and say, how can I invest 5 million euro today in any of these ETFs if they are much smaller? Or what's the average daily volume in Frankfurt? Is it $100,000 per day? Or in that case, it's too small for me. Well, that would be normal if you invest in a small cap stock. You don't have liquidity, you don't have size. But ETFs are open-ended and they are infinite. You can invest 50 million euro in the Czech ETF today because our company is very good at investing that money into the local market, and we can accommodate any amount of buyers and sellers. Very few numbers about these markets. They look cheap compared to the Western, to the global market. So we're very optimistic about the future of Eastern Europe as an investment destination. Also, in this region, there are some larger markets, some smaller ones. For us, even the small markets are not small. We feel very comfortable in this region, and we think we are among the best specialists of this region, from the Baltics to Greece and Turkey, passing through the Balkans, of course. And my last slide, if you are a financial institution, for example, a broker or a fund in Slovenia, how can you make money? You can make money in many different ways from this business. You can have trading profits or market making profits. You buy low, you sell high, and you make money from the spread. Also, if you're a broker, when you can be buying and selling the ETFs themselves, and you'll get brokerage commissions, or the ETFs can be your clients and they will be buying the underlying stocks and selling them through you. You get brokerage commissions. Also, investors can make an investment profit because the stock markets can go up in the next months and years. And also, our partners, our distributors can make agency fees, brokerage commissions from finding investors for our products. And the last very interesting way to make money, we use the term recycling for the lack of any better word. We have seen how many Bulgarian retail and institutional investors have decided to come out of individual positions because they're more volatile and risky, and they can switch to the ETF position, which is more diversified. Our team is ready to participate in the following discussion. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Vasilev, for your very kind words and for your detailed presentation that gave us a better insight into your company's operations and, of course, your ETFs. We will continue with the roundtable, so I invite all of the guests to join me with their cameras. For the Q&A session, there will be another 2 representatives from Expat Capital joining us, Mrs. Dilyana Todorova, securities trader, and Mr. Mehmed Dikme, financial analyst. I welcome you all. Okay, yeah, just switch on the camera. Yes, we can see everybody now, and I think we are ready to start with the questions. So we'll just start with questions for Expat. So how hard was it to enter to Ljubljana Stock Exchange in comparison to other exchanges?
Hello, Carmen. Hvala. Thank you and welcome everybody. It's a great pleasure being here with you today. The people from the Ljubljana Stock Exchange team were very friendly, and it took some months' time, which is quite normal. But overall, both countries are part of the European Union, so I can say the process went quite smoothly and with great cooperation between us and the exchange. It took some time, which I believe gave both parts some regional know-how, and we all learned some valuable things with regards to the passportization of funds or any product and the cross-listing as well.
Okay, thank you for those words. What are your positive and negative experience with listing ETFs? Do you have any interesting story to tell us?
Well, every listing itself is unique, so every exchange gives different experience. There are many stories in terms of the whole passportization and how you access the exchange, because although we are part of the same community, meaning again the European Union, every exchange has particular regional rules. So in terms of the Ljubljana one, there were, for example, the team was eager to help, and they were guiding us through, and we found a lot of similarities. And other exchanges, like the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, or probably most importantly, the London Stock Exchange, were more difficult to access because there were some differences we observed in terms of the regional rules and the local requirements we had to meet. If I have to say an interesting story, probably a few days after the cross-listing, so on some exchanges, we got a phone call here in the office on the central line, and one of my colleagues just picked up, and they wanted to subscribe shares from primary market directly. And then it was an investor, an individual one, and then we said, well, you don't have to, just go to your corresponding exchange if you have access by a broker. And they said, oh really, I didn't know that. So a few minutes later we saw the volumes on the exchange. So I guess this is the benefit of the cross-listing anywhere, where just local investors and international as well can trade wherever they want, whenever they want.
Okay, thank you for sharing that story with us. The next question is for Mr. Ipavec. What are, in your opinion, the biggest advantages for Ljubljana Stock Exchange and for Slovenian capital market that newly listed ETFs will bring?
Yeah, long story short, increased liquidity and increased number of retail clients. But if I elaborate a little bit more, now our retail clients have opportunity to, with one trade, to buy the whole basket of different shares. I think that especially Slovenian shares would be interesting for our clients, as well as institutional clients. They can diversify their investments in quite cost-effective and time-effective way. So yeah, I very welcome these ETFs, which are not new instruments on the Slovenian market. We used to have it some 10 plus years ago, but yeah, after so many years, we are back on track, and we are right now on the level with other modern stock exchanges, where ETFs are one of the very hot products right now.
Thank you for that answer. Mr. Todurov, how do you see the listing of ETFs on Ljubljana Stock Exchange from your perspective and from the perspective of your clients?
From my perspective, I'm welcoming listing of ETFs. It's a great product for the investors and for anyone who wants to invest cost effectively and to diversify their portfolio. ETFs are one of the biggest products in the world right now, and they will just keep getting bigger because clients want cost-effective products, and ETFs are the ones that well, they're great.
Okay, thank you. Another question for Expat. How did you choose which ETFs you want to quote to Ljubljana Stock Exchange?
Well, I guess in a way it came naturally. I remember a few years ago I was speaking to one of our other brokers from Western Europe who said, is it on your roadmap taking your ETFs home one by one? So the Slovenian ETF, of course, it should be there, and also the other funds which cover the region, they also in a way belong to that exchange. And as well, we got advice from our partners in Slovenia and all our brokers overall in Europe and worldwide that probably they would be, the local investors would be interested in them and there would be local demand. However, we're not limited to listing only these funds, the one that we are starting. They come as our pilot projects, and hopefully in future we can cross-list them anywhere, not only in all of them, not only in Ljubljana, but upon demand on other exchanges as well.
Mm-hmm. And we heard in Mr. Todurov's presentation that there are, of course, some risks connected to ETFs. How do you manage the tracking error risk?
The way we minimize tracking error is actually through a number of factors. One of the factors is that we have been doing these rebalances on our ETFs for over 100 times now. So we have this unique specialty of having to rebalance ETFs and doing it very efficiently without reflecting it on the ETFs as well when the underlying is rebalancing. We also have our team here who is dynamically monitoring every single index, every single underlying for changes and expected changes. So we are always prepared in advance as to what might happen to our ETFs. And we also have a great history of tracking error or minimizing tracking error on our ETFs that you can see on our website. And that is also achieved through low cost of managing and trading on our end.
It's good to hear that. I'm sure our investors are happy to hear that as well. Mr. Todurov, why should investors include ETFs in their portfolios?
Because it's much easier to diversify with ETFs, and if you want a passive fund for the long term, the ETFs are the perfect solution because they are cost effective. They track index with low tracking error, like Mr. Mehmed said. And if you want to hold an investment for 5, 10 or 20 years, ETFs are much better solution as a core of your portfolio.
Mr. Todurov, as you have mentioned in your presentation, there has been a huge interest for ETFs all around the world. Have you also seen a rising interest for ETFs with your clients?
Yeah, sure. The interest comes mostly from the younger clients, because the older ones want traditional investments, but younger clients that are aware of the costs and every other issue of the investments want ETFs.
Okay, another question for Expat. How will you assure that there is a minimum spread between bid and ask?
That's actually a very good question. The way we do it is we have our local partners at Intercapital, but also we have our international network of brokers who support international investors who want to take advantage of the Ljubljana Stock Exchange. And in fact, we ourselves also provide support to the market makers. And most of the trades actually happen, at least in Frankfurt, most of the trades happen between investors themselves and not the market maker. So the spread that the market maker provides is going to be somewhat beaten, let's say, by the investors that will eventually slowly gain access to the Ljubljansko Stock Exchange and gain access to our ETFs as well.
Thank you for that answer. Mr. Ipavec, there were ETFs listed, as you mentioned before, on Ljubljansko Stock Exchange in the past. So what happened with them, and why is this time around different?
Yeah, they're listed. I mean, I believe it was maybe the timing. as we all know, first ETFs were listed in 2006, if I'm not mistaken, which was just before the crisis, and I believe that the timing was maybe not the best one, or let's say from today's perspective, maybe those guys who put the ETFs on the market were a little bit in front of the time. But I believe that today it's a completely different situation, not only in Slovenia, but all over the world. So I believe that this situation that was in 2008 and afterwards has very little to do with today's situation. Even though I must say that yesterday we had another milestone on Ljubljana Stock Exchange, so our SB top reached 1,000 points after 11 years. So I don't know if this is the best start, but yeah, it's very important milestone for us, since we are now on the higher levels that we were before the pandemic crisis 1 year ago. So we all hope in this V-shaped exit, but yeah, the times today are very uncertain. We'll see how it will go, but I'm very optimistic that we learned a lot of lessons in the last 10 years, which is quite important for the future.
Yes, thank you. We are all hoping for a good start with the ETFs that started today. So for Expat, do you plan to spread the list of your ETFs or to list the existing ETFs to more stock exchanges?
As Nikolay has mentioned, we already have plans to expand our scope of ETFs to the Baltics, and we are looking at other countries like Ukraine and Montenegro. We have actually, interestingly, been requested that we have received requests from 20 exchanges, you know, for various products to be listed on these exchanges, and we are very flattered. And of course, you know, ETFs are our forte. We have a unique experience, and we have a unique knowledge of these products. So we are planning to expand, and like Nikolay mentioned, perhaps most people don't know, but one of the biggest ETF providers, Luxor, is now exiting Poland. They're closing down their Polish ETF, and while, you know, for the big players it might be, this region of Central Europe and Eastern Europe might not be particularly attractive, we see this region as having a large and great potential for growth in the future, and we will continue to support the region.
Okay, we have another question from the audience, and it is regarding your gold fund, and they are wondering if that one could be listed on your Ljubljana Stock Exchange as well.
Why not? I'm glad people are interested in our Expat Gold. It's brand new and already has monitored like a good amount of individual or institutional interest. I would say, why not? Upon demand, and if you're interested in these products, we would be glad to bring it to you on your feed too.
In the meantime, let me mention that all investors can invest in the gold fund through us even today. Just contact us and we'll tell you how to do it. It doesn't have to be always listed everywhere. It's listed in Sofia, but it's open-ended. You can buy and sell any amount today.
And also,
yes.
Sorry if I can just add something up. Although it's domestically listed here in Sofia Stock Exchange, on the Bulgarian Stock Exchange, you can monitor the INAV of the fund. So it has Bloomberg INAV, so you can start monitoring and looking at the fund's development even now. And what Nikolay said, of course, is valid.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Another question from the audience is, how come that SB top ETF is the largest? Who are the investors? If you can comment on that.
We don't know their names even, because it's exchange traded product, so anonymous people can invest in the ETF. I presume it is something that came naturally. We believe the index is quite interesting, although in terms of the constituent, it's not the usual index compared to other indexes in Europe and worldwide. The Slovenian ETF has some institutional participation and also has some good retail participation as well. Those funds, you know, they're highways and they're long-term projects. So it might be the bigger one, the biggest one now. Probably might get bigger in future. We hope so, but probably yes, might bring some interest as well. But overall, among the ETFs, the Slovenian and the gold one are my favorite, I would say. So probably well.
Good to hear. There is another question from audience. If you can share the info of who are the authorized participants for the SB ETF.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me try to answer this question. Normal large global ETFs, like the ones for the S&P 500 or the DAX index in Germany and elsewhere, have a more complicated structure. There are millions, maybe hundreds of millions of individual and also institutional ETF investors in the world who don't know the word authorized participant, because they only trade on stock exchanges in the secondary market and they don't understand the word primary market. You know, I've spoken to many institutional investors in these 11 countries where there are no ETFs. And even some extremely qualified people, CEOs of financial companies, CFA charter holders, had never heard of the word primary market, and there is nothing wrong with that. I also hadn't heard 5 years ago. So most people invest in secondary markets only. Now, the large ETFs in big countries have sometimes dozens of designated authorized participants, and these are the only ones who can approach the asset manager through the so-called basket of securities. So they provide 500 stocks of the S&P 500 index to the ETF operator and get shares in the ETF. Our company, being relatively small and also covering a number of countries with very small markets compared to the US, had to invent a lot of innovations of how to create ETFs without such a complicated ecosystem. So we have no designated authorized participants, but because the funds are open-ended, our own asset management company, can serve as an authorized participant in the way that we can redeem and issue new shares every day. So just, you don't have to understand the details so well. Most of us can drive cars, but don't know how the engine operates really. So just call us and you'll see how easy it is. Within minutes, we'll serve you and you'll be investors.
Thank you for clarifying that. And now there is another question from the audience, but it's about tax aspect of the ETFs. And I would ask you, Mr. Todurov, to answer that question. So what is the tax aspect of the ETFs?
The tax aspect is the same as with the stock or mutual fund. In Slovenia, it's 27.5%, but the main issues are dividends. As most ETFs are paying dividends, the tax is immediately, it's 27.5%, and the investor has to, if by just example, if a country in USA takes 15%, investor has to pay the difference between 27.5 and 15%. So it's the same as holding stock or mutual fund.
Okay, but if I understand correctly, expat ETFs won't be paying out dividends, yes?
First of all, our ETFs pay no dividends, and this is a deliberate decision. But more importantly, I'm sure you will love Sofia. Our country is one of the few in the world with a zero capital gains tax. So you can invest and make millions and billions, zero tax. Of course, double taxation treaties are different from each country, but we can, there are always ways of how people from around the world can invest here with a zero capital gains tax, and that's why we have individual investors from 35 countries so far.
Well, let's say in Slovenia we are not so lucky with tax system, especially for retail clients. And the last question for Expat, who are, in your experience, the biggest buyers of ETFs? Are those retail customers or institutional investors?
Thank you. As I said earlier, we don't know them personally by names because on the exchange it could be anyone, and I can say both. We have few big institutional players investing in multiple of our funds. So I would say our funds are definitely interesting and good diversification for a given institution or other bigger fund. But also we have numerous hundreds and thousands of individual clients who write to us or call us on a daily basis, and they use the funds, any ETF, just to gain exposure to the particular region with small or zero costs, and also in an effective way. So I cannot say such amount institutional, other amount retail. I would definitely say both.
Okay, thank you for that answer. And as we are approaching our time limit for this event, I would like each of the guests to give their final remarks. Mr. Ipavec, if you could start.
Yeah, thank you. So my final remark would be that, let's say in Slovenia, I usually say that our investors, especially retail investors, are a little bit extremists in a way that when something is very hot, they just pure into that direction, taking loans for investing into the shares and so on. We know the story from 10 plus years ago. And then when all the crypto hype was there, Slovenians were again pull in all the positions long. Then on the other side, we have one of the highest percentages of deposits in a bank. So we have almost 23 billion euros of deposits laying on our banks with no interest, no taxes are collected out of this. So two extremes, and I see these ETFs as an opportunity for our especially retail clients to start investing in a way which is definitely more appropriate for non-professional investors, which is to diversify their investments, not to put everything in one single name, but to diversify their investments in sense of asset classes, in sense of different shares and so on. And there is currently no easier way to do this like with ETFs. And the second, my final remark would be that I don't see ETFs on the local market as an competition for mutual funds, but more as an complementary asset class, in a way that none of our investment funds has not even close to the basket of shares that are included in all these 5 ETFs. That's why I don't believe there will be any flow from mutual funds to ETFs, but we have to activate these deposits which are lying on the banks, which are short term, and start to invest on long term, which is something that is not yet in our culture, but I believe that maybe these ETFs are the first step in the right direction. So that's much from my side.
Okay, thank you for your words. I think you pointed out a very good issue. And Mr. Todurov, please, your words.
I'd like to welcome Expat to the Slovenian market. I'm very happy we are it's the next step for the Ljubljana Stock Exchange and for Slovenian investors. And I'm looking forward to seeing your ETFs on Ljubljana Stock Exchange. That's it.
Thank you. And Mr. Vasilev, your final words, please.
Yes, on behalf of our whole team, thank you so much for the organization of this. We're very happy. And I have the following dream, that the pandemic is over this year. We'd like to visit you, as well as the stock exchanges in Zagreb, Belgrade, Skopje, and Podgorica. And also I would like to buy some more Rogaška crystal this year.
Thank you, thank you. We would be more than happy to welcome you in person as soon as it's possible. We are keeping our fingers crossed for that. So at this point, we are concluding today's event. I would like to take a moment to thank all of you. So Mr. Vasilev, Mrs. Todorova, and Mr. Dikme from Expat, Mr. Todurov from VZAJEMCI, and of course from Ljubljana Stock Exchange, Mr. Ipavec. And thank you, our audience, for your attention. We would also like to invite you to stay tuned for the other activities of Ljubljana Stock Exchange, and we encourage you to follow our website and social media accounts for more information. And let's end in Slovene. Hvala vsem gostom, ki ste se nam pridružili v tem pogovoru, in hvala vam, spoštovano občinstvo, da ste nas spremljali. Na Ljubljanski borzi organiziramo tudi druge dogodke, ki jim lahko sledite na naši spletni strani ali pa na družbenih omrežjih. Naslednji dogodek bo že naslednji teden. Hvala za danes in nasvidenje. Wish you all a great day and goodbye.
Nasvidenje, ja.